How you doing, YouTube? Matt with Mass Beer Reviews. This guy. Fact yet another review. Both beers I've actually reviewed before, but it's been a while since I've had them. So I figured they're not the same beers, but it'd be fun to do a little side by side. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a little bit of Westvleteren, however you want to call it, 12 versus 8. Like I said, I've reviewed both of these before. Pretty sure I know I've done 12. 99% sure I've done 8. And it's been a while, man. I could actually used to get these back in the day, pretty readily available. Actually, a bar down the street from me, the bar where I kind of cut my teeth, kind of getting into beer back around like 1999, 1998, had these at the bar. You can get them pretty much whenever you want. Sure, they weren't exported at that time, but they managed to have them at all times. So I've had my fair share of Westie, mostly 12s. 8's a little bit harder to come by just because it's not as popular a beer. But it's been a while, and I'm lucky enough to have Brian, a viewer, thank you very much, brother, send me a set of these off. He actually sent me 2 8s and a 12. And I was thinking, okay, do I drink these? Do I review them? Well, he was gracious enough to send them off, so I got to review them, but I figured it'd be nice to do a side-by-side. Again, we're talking about a quad, we're talking about a double. Can be similar beers, but usually are markedly different. Quads tend to be a little bit more richer, a little bit sweeter, a little richer, a little bit more kind of adult confectionery, kind of desserty, where your doubles tend to come off a little bit more, a little drier, a little bit more not savory, but not nearly as sweet. So, but it'd be a fun kind of back and forth, because I've always attested that I've enjoyed 8 more than I've enjoyed 12. To the point where actually one of my favorite quads is not Westvleteren 12. It is St. Bernardus, who used to make it actually up until like the mid 70s. They made it. So anyway, we're gonna dive into it. Label wise, absolutely one of my favorite labels in history of mankind. Why? There is no label. It's just got that nice classic kind of Trappist kind of collar there in the neck, and you got your yellow cap, you got your blue cap, done and done. So let's do this. Let's see what he's got. Throwing caps everywhere. Okay. Try to give these a relatively even pour to give you guys the goods. Well, I should have poured them like a normal person, because guess what? They're Belgian beers, so they're going to generate a gigantic head. So you're going to have to deal with this dude talking to you for a bit, because these might be sticking around for a while. How about that? That, my friends, is what called world-class pouring. I mean, you're talking about you want to go to school to be a beer pourer. Well, that's how you do it. I mean, I should teach this shit. I should be at the Chicharoni teaching all the Chicharrones how to pour beer and all that kind of stuff. You know, how to pour it, how to swirl it, how to smell it. You know, that's what it's all about. That's how you make it. That's how you're real. Anyway, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Actually, I do. So, I mean, horrible pours on both my ends. You know, classically, you can kind of hold the glass and kind of pour it. But as far as what I can see look-wise, they're actually not that different of beers. Even on the pour, they actually looked quite similar in color. For me, you know, quads tend to be a little bit richer, a little bit darker, a little bit murkier. Doubles aren't too far off, but they tend to be a little bit lighter and have a little bit less kind of density, kind of murkiness to them. We're talking about the classic styles, not necessarily what American breweries give you. But I mean, if you look at it from a distance, other than this one having a big, gigantic head on it, there's honestly not that big of a difference between the two. You know? So let's start with the 12, see what that nose gives us, because this 8 has a little bit of time to go before it gets done. So give her a whiff. I mean, quintessential cloudiness, and then you're getting that rich. It's datiness. It's rich datiness, rich plumminess. There's a big plum component in there, so it's not necessarily getting that kind of cherry red fruit side of things. It's getting more of that plummy kind of dark fruit side of things. There's that nice breadiness to it, nice kind of sweet caramel, kind of Belgian candy sugar vibe to it. Yeah, that's nice. A lot of times quads end up being very similar, not the same, but very similar to like a big, rich, robust kind of Doppelbock to me. without that kind of lager yeastiness, and that's kind of what this gets to me. It's kind of got that rich, bready deliciousness without that kind of lager yeast, and those big red fruits, and a nice kind of breadiness to it. Let's see what 8 has to offer. Definitely a bit muted from there, but it's similar, almost like a slightly kind of dialed back version of it. Kind of, I mean, for lack of nuance, that's kind of what quads are, or doubles are. They're kind of a dialed back version of a quad. Doubles are. You're talking about, I think this is 10 and change. This is right about, I think it's 8 on the nose. So they're not too far off ABV wise, but you're getting that bigger, richer kind of plummy component. In a perfect world, I'd smell this one first, but the head was kind of going crazy, so we flip-flopped it. But yeah, very similar, a bit more richer, a bit more robust over here. Yeah, that plumminess, man. It's plum. 2 great things about plums. 3 great things about plums. We'll do a little segue here, or a break. 1, plums in general, they're delicious. 2, go watch on YouTube Will Ferrell. Type in Will Ferrell. What is it? Eastbound and Down plums. Watch that. You're welcome. And then plumminess when you get in these big, rich kind of Belgian kind of beers. Just absolutely fantastic. So I'm gonna dive in. I'm gonna go with the 8 first. Cheers. Spicy, way spicier than I thought it would be. It's like almost like a burnt brown sugar mixed with it's like a spruce tippy thing almost in there. The way it's coming off, it's spicy, and it has a kind of almost like a medicinal vegetal thing going on, like a basil or like a sage. Not nearly as powerful or as impactful as that, but it has that kind of herbalish, what's the word I'm looking for? Not herbal. I could just say herbal. That would work. But it's giving you that kind of thing with a slight kind of minty, medicinal kind of component to it, which is pretty cool. Dry, nice sweetness to it, but nothing over the top. Nice richness to it. That brown sugar plays well. That candy sugar plays well. It's got a nice dryness to it. That yeast. And then you get that like spicy kind of herbally kind of vegetal component kind of floating around. Let's go number 12. Cheers. You're getting a bit boozier. You're getting like a slight like rich brown alcohol vibe off. There's like a cognac vibe off this. It's not as dry as this. It's a bit sweeter, a bit richer. That plumminess that was in here. Again, they're different beers, so I'm not saying they're the same beer, and I'm trying to do that. I'm just saying, me comparing them. Plumminess in here is not here. It's getting a bit more kind of richer. You're getting into a bit more candy kind of plumminess, and or a candied kind of almost raisiness in there, and like I said, it's giving me those kind of darker alcohol kind of cognac vibes. Still getting a subtle dryness, but not nearly as big as that. Mouth feels a little bit touchy, not necessarily thinner, but different. Not as creamy and fluffy over here, a little bit denser. Yeah, I mean, it does, for the most basic of purposes, taste like you doubled this beer up. Obviously, it's not double the beer, it's not double the alcohol, the whole nine. But there's a distinct separation between the two. And I'll tell you this, I've said for years, Westie 8 is my favorite. I prefer that over Westie 12. Not really feeling that right now. I'm actually leaning a little bit more towards the 12. A lot of different reasons can make that happen. Whether it be me changing, whether it be the beers changing. A lot of times when I used to drink these beers, they were quite a bit older. These are, let's see, This one is, I don't know what their dating is on it, but it's January 31st, 2021 is their Best By date, I assume. I don't know if they're doing 3 years. I assume it's 3 years. That's pretty much the European standard nowadays. So it's relatively fresh. I used to get these minimum with, several months, if not years on them. So does age play a part? Again, probably. But, I've always stood by the 8, being like, that is my more favorite beer. Now, was it me more just wanting to love the 8 more because it's, people love the 12 more? I don't know. Sometimes people are weird like that, and me included. But they're both fantastic beers. I think the 12 is a bit more of a more richer, more robust, a little bit deeper beer, but the 8 is no slouch. Now, that being said, I wish I had a St. Bernardus 12 because just tasting these and based off memory, I still think I like the 12 more. But then again, went in this thinking I liked the 8 more, so what do I know? But yeah, pretty fun little side-by-side. It's one I wanted to do for a while, and it's been a while since I've had the chance to kind of throw a couple of these down. So thanks very much, Brian. So let's talk about it. Are these two of the better Belgian-based beers that I've had as late? Yes. Fun fact, not so fun fact, I haven't done a ton of Belgian beers, just even my personal life lately. They tend to be, bigger, high ABV beers, but I need to get back to them. It's where I cut my teeth in the beer and where I really kind of love beer. So it's going to default to yes, but even if I had a bunch, I think it's still eke in there. Value and availability. It's actually, these aren't that expensive. You get them at the brewery or in Belgium. But, in the States, they can run you a pretty penny. So take that for what it's worth and leave you with, if you like what we like these, if you like Belgian beers, if you like dark beers, if you like rich beers, malt forward beers, these are going to do you because they were great decades ago. They're great today. And if you like the malt forward richness of Belgian beers, you might find better, but you're going to have a hard time. Let's put it that way. So there we go. Another review in the books. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little kind of side-by-side, weird kind of battle beers, whatever you want to call it, versus beers, whatever people call these things. I don't know what I want to call them. I'm going to call them neighbor beers. I don't need a name. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you didn't, anywhere in between down there working stuff. Massive Beers. Check me out doing the social media stuff. Type that in Google. Beer Massive. MASSIF. Check me out doing the podcasting stuff. iTunes, Stitcher, the whole 9, Spotify. Type it in there. Find me doing the whole podcasting thing, brewing reviews, round tables. There you go. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying a little Belgian goodness right now. And hopefully see you next time. Cheers.